Hey there folks, Rel here. Today I'd like to talk about time to kill versus lag, or maybe more specifically, time to kill versus connection speed or lag compensation measures in PlanetSide 2. So in the background you'll see some random filler gameplay with some specific gameplay examples thrown in to illustrate what I'm talking about. I do want to preface this by saying that I have next to no idea which method PlanetSide 2 uses to compensate for lag, and it's not something that I'm willing to invest the time into exploring at this point. But if you are kind of curious and would like to learn more, there are a couple links in the description for you below. One of which is a video by Drifter, which explains very well how lag compensation affects Black Ops 2 and how lag compensation works in general. I highly suggest checking out that video if it's something you'd like to learn more about. The purpose of this video, though, is going to talk specifically about how to take advantage of the situations that lag compensation seems to cause. We've all been killed after we've run behind cover thinking we'd be safe. We've all been rammed into by a galaxy or an ESF that we clearly avoided on our screen. And the reason that this happens is because PlanetSide 2 uses client-side hit detection, which means that if I shoot you, you're going to take a lot of damage as long as the bullets hit you on my screen. And there is a distinction there because where I see you on my screen is different than where you see yourself. So firstly, let's show off how much this issue actually affects the game. In this first example, you're going to see a heavy assault turn the corner and fire on me very quickly. The first shot that he lands is a headshot with his LMG after coming out of a full sprint, and then we dance for a little bit and I end up dying. The weapon he's using is the T9 Carve with a forward grip, and the Carve takes 0.4 seconds to slow down from a sprint, aim down sights, and fire off a first shot, so just keep that in mind. Now let's break the clip down a little bit. Starting from where his body begins to turn the corner on my screen, in other words the point at which he could have possibly known that I was there, if you take a look at the counter in the bottom right hand corner, it takes him 0.7 seconds for him to hit me, and you can tell that it hits me because the screen turns red, even though my shields haven't taken the actual hit yet, which happens 0.1 seconds later. But if it takes you 0.4 seconds to come out of a sprint, fire off your first shot due to the game's mechanics, and it takes him 0.7 seconds to land his first shot, that would mean that this Battle Rank 15 has stellar reaction times of 0.3 seconds. And if you have a mental and a mechanical reaction time of 0.3 seconds, so the time that it takes your brain to understand what's going on and then react to it, coupled with the time that it takes you to move the mouse, click on the right spot, that's MLG status and beyond. But in this case, the person isn't MLG status, they're definitely not hacking either, or else it just wouldn't have taken him so long to kill me. So there is another factor at play, and that's because what we see on our screens is actually something that's happened in the past. And this will vary depending on your connection to the server and your enemy's connection to the server and how well the server is running overall that day. We're going to call that bit of view that the enemy sees, that bit that's kind of left over in the past, we're going to call that your echo for the sake of simplicity. So getting back to the example, if we say that the enemy's echo is running about 0.2 seconds in the past, by the time I see him turn the corner, he's already been in line of sight of me for those 0.2 seconds, which makes his overall reaction times much more reasonable. But if that example was a bit too quick for you, or if you're still not convinced, or if you're still a little bit confused, here's another example that will make it much easier to follow. Right here, me and an NC are getting on a jump pad. On my screen, I'm well ahead of him thanks to how fast jump pads move you, but on his screen, I'm not. I'm probably just barely in front of where he's facing, and you'll even notice that he's facing away from me, but I'm still taking damage. As I try to put some shots onto him with my low damage lasher, which is also completely inaccurate while jumping, he's able to lay into me with a high damage submachine gun from close range. On his screen, I got onto the jump pad just after him, hence the reason why he's able to just turn around and shoot me. But on my screen, I got onto the jump pad before him, which is why he is so far behind me. So it's that 20th of a second to half a second of flux that's going to make or break specific encounters in this game. And I don't say that is a bad thing. To quote a mentor of mine, it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing. And it's something that we have to deal with in any game, not just this one. Though in a game of this scale, it's no surprise that the effects are very noticeable. Alright, so the last example before we move on to how we can take advantage of this mechanic for ourselves. Here we're in a tower fight. And this guy Vonic, he knows what he's doing, so he was fun to go up against, and you'll see him owning me in another video later on a different topic. But I jump down and I actually get the drop on him. I can't take him down before he runs into cover, and when he does run into cover, he neutralizes that slight advantage that I had over him. In fact, he now has the upper hand based on our positioning, which is something that I'll explain in just a bit. So naturally, I do want to chase him down, and the problem is that I can't get to him quickly enough. Remember that I'm seeing him maybe a quarter of a second or less in the past, and he's doing the same for me. So on his screen, he's already rounded the corner, and he's shooting at my Echo, hence the reason why he's facing away from me, yet I'm still taking damage. And I'll split this really quick so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. According to him, I haven't turned the corner, just based on where he's facing and where he's shooting at. You can see that image on the right side. Now at the same time, this is what's actually going on my screen. I am seeing his Echo, or where he was just slightly in the past, so barely before or after he rounds the corner, which gives me the opportunity to at least fire on him, but overall he does have the advantage. This is an example where we are both creating initiative, and by that, at least in this case, I'm talking about creating situations where you have an advantage based on that client-side hit detection and the discrepancies in how the game compensates for lag. PlanetSide 2 and most shooters favor aggressive players for the reasons we just showed. So how do we create initiative ourselves? The first thing we need to do is just remember that enemies are seeing us about a quarter of a second or less than where we are. The biggest way to generate this advantage is to use corners, cover, and speed in conjunction with either a low time to kill weapon like an SMG, shotgun, or a close quarters carbine, or a hard hitting weapon, which we're going to talk about much later. And here's a little diagram to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Right here you can see a bunch of enemies huddled around a capture point. In this case it's represented in blue. And if I'm running toward that capture point as a medic, my Echo is following behind me, which is the faded medic you see. And let's just say that that Echo is running the same 0.2 seconds behind us. So when I turn the corner, I have 0.2 seconds worth of time where my Echo is still behind cover. These guys have zero idea that I'm here and that I'm about to plaster them with my shotgun, at least for that very short window, because my Echo just isn't within their line of sight. And that 0.2 seconds is not a long time, but it's enough to create an advantage. And that advantage becomes especially prevalent, especially powerful with a weapon geared towards close quarters like a shotgun, which after the first shot has a 0.26-ish time to kill. And this is the major reason why people hate shotguns. They hate SMGs so much, whether they realize it or not. Because if I turn the corner and I can fire off even a single shot before you understand what's happening or before you can line up your crosshairs on me, that's half of your health gone immediately without getting the chance to fight back. But remember that anyone can generate this advantage regardless of what weapon they're using by effectively hiding their Echo, just like Vonic did to me here. It's one of the reasons why upper level players are seen running around more often, and is also why mobility is so painfully important, not just in this game, but in any first-person shooter. Now, I was referencing low time to kill weapons a lot in this, but even a high-powered weapon like the Gauss Saw, you can take advantage of that same Echo mechanic by utilizing cover. If I see the enemy in the distance while I'm behind cover, if I pop up and I drop a couple shots on him, the enemy just took a lot of damage during that initiative window, so that 0.2 seconds, without getting a chance to react to me first. So to sum this all up, we'll give you some general rules of thumb for creating initiative. The first is to just run around constantly. Always keep moving. Staying still is deadly because not only are you sitting in the same area, which makes you easy to hit, but your Echo is also going to be sitting there a little bit longer than you if you decide to run away. Also, you always want to run from cover to cover, and this should be a general rule of thumb for playing the game, but hopefully there's a little bit more value attached to it now that you understand how this mechanic works. If an enemy does get the drop on you and cover is nearby, don't just turn around and start shooting at them because they do have the upper hand, so run into cover and then force them to follow you. And this has a little bit more to do with mental skill and psychological warfare than anything else, but you want to bait your enemies into heading your direction so that you can turn around and pop around cover, which is going to possibly give you the initiative over your opponent. At the same time, if you know that you're being baited, then just back off or sit behind cover for a little bit longer than they expect you to, at least before pursuing them. As an added bonus, do not run in a straight line if you can help it. If an enemy turns a corner on you and you're running in a straight line, they have a distinct advantage on you, because remember that they are seeing your echo as well. So if you are running in a straight line and you decide to say, oh, I'm taking fire, I should probably move, and then you dodge to the left or the right, your echo is still going to be there for a fraction of a second longer than it's going to take you to start running into cover. If you're constantly zigzagging though, that helps neutralize the enemy's advantage right from the start. And always remember that aggression equals advantage. So hopefully you got something useful out of all that, and if this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel. And if you understand the technical aspects behind this and you'd like to post a comment or a video response explaining things better than I can, that would be extremely helpful for those who are interested, which includes myself. Thanks very much, folks. We're all signing off.